The ship was quiet. Too quiet. Admiral Dong-yuk sat in his small cabin and looked out the window at the stars. He was 78 years old now. His hair was white. His hands had spots from age. But his eyes were still sharp. They were the eyes of a man who had seen many battles and lived to tell the stories. The diplomatic vessel moved slowly through space. It was not a warship. It carried no weapons. This was supposed to be a peaceful mission. Earth had sent Dong-yuk to meet with the Galactic Council. They wanted to talk about trade. They wanted to discuss peace. But Dong-yuk knew something was wrong. He could feel it in his old bones. His assistant, a young man named Jinho, knocked on the door and entered. Jinho was only 25 years old. He was smart and eager to learn. He looked up to Dong-yuk like a grandfather. "Sir, we are approaching the meeting point," Jinho said. "But our sensors are picking up strange readings." Dong-yuk stood up slowly. His knees hurt. His back was stiff. But he walked to the bridge without complaining. A soldier never complained. Even a retired one. On the bridge, the crew was nervous. There were only 12 people on this ship. They were diplomats and scientists, not warriors. The captain, a woman named Yuna, turned to face Dong-yuk when he entered. "Admiral, we have a problem," Yuna said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed fear. "There are ships surrounding us. Many ships. They are not from the Council escort." Dong-yuk looked at the screen. He counted the ships. 20, 30, 50. They kept appearing from behind asteroids and moons. These were warships. Big ones with powerful weapons pointed at them. "They are jamming our communications," another crew member reported. "We cannot call for help." Dong-yuk nodded slowly. He had expected this. Not today, not like this, but he had always known the Council did not really want peace with humans. They saw Earth as a small planet with weak creatures. They saw humans as insects to be crushed. "Do not resist," Dong-yuk ordered. "Let them take us." Yuna looked at him with shock. "Sir, we should try to escape." "In this ship? Against 50 warships?" Dong-yuk smiled sadly. "No, Captain. Today we become prisoners. But remember this moment. Remember how they broke the promise of peace. Remember their betrayal. The alien ships moved closer. They sent a message demanding surrender. Yuna had no choice but to accept. Within minutes, alien soldiers boarded their vessel. They were tall creatures with blue skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were cold and showed no mercy. The aliens pushed the human crew into a line. They laughed at them. One alien grabbed Jinho by the neck and lifted him off the ground. "So weak," the alien said. "Humans are so small and weak." "Put him down," Dong-yuk said. His voice was not loud, but it was firm. The alien turned to look at the old man. It laughed again. "And what will you do, old one?" "You can barely stand," I said. "Put him down." The alien dropped Jinho and walked toward Dong-yuk. It stood very close, looking down at him. The alien was almost 3 meters tall. Dong-yuk only reached its chest. "You have courage for an old human," the alien said. "The Council will enjoy breaking that courage." They put chains on all the humans. Heavy metal chains that hurt their wrists. Then they took them to a large transport ship. The journey took many hours. Dong-yuk sat in silence the whole time. He did not eat the food they offered. He did not drink the water. He just sat and thought. Jinho sat next to him. The young man was scared. His hands were shaking. "Sir," Jinho whispered, "what will happen to us?" "We will be taken to the Council," Dong-yuk said. "They will use us to show their people how weak humans are. They will parade us like animals. But why? Why did they do this? We came in peace." Dong-yuk sighed. "Because they do not want peace, Jinho. They never did. They want our planet. They want our resources. And most of all, they want to feel powerful by crushing those they think are beneath them. Will anyone come to save us? Dong-yuk did not answer that question. He just looked at the young man and put a hand on his shoulder. Be brave, Dong-yuk said. No matter what happens, be brave. Show them that humans do not break easily. The transport ship finally arrived at a massive space station. It was the home of the Galactic Council. Hundreds of different alien species lived and worked here. It was the center of galactic politics. And today, it would be the stage for human humiliation. The aliens dragged the humans through long hallways. Other aliens stopped to watch. They pointed and laughed. Some threw things at them. Dong-yuk walked with his head held high. He did not look down. He did not show fear. They brought them to a huge room. It was the council chamber. Thousands of seats rose up on all sides, filled with aliens from every corner of the galaxy. In the center was a platform where the prisoners would stand. Above them, on a golden throne, sat council leader Vorn. Vorn was old too, maybe 1,000 years old. His species lived very long lives. His skin was gray and covered with scales. His eyes were yellow like a snake. He wore robes made of expensive fabric that shimmered in the light. Bring them forward, Vorn commanded. The guards pushed the humans onto the platform. The crowd roared laughter and insults. They called humans names. They made jokes about how small and ugly they were. Dong-yuk stood at the front of his group. He looked up at Vorn without fear. So, Vorn said with a cruel smile, "This is what Earth sends us. An old man who should be dead already. Is this the best humanity can offer?" The crowd laughed louder. Dong-yuk said nothing. He just stood there, his eyes locked on Vorn. "Look at him," Vorn continued. "He cannot even speak. He is too scared. Or maybe too stupid. Humans are such simple creatures, after all." More laughter filled the chamber. Vorn leaned forward on his throne. "We gave you the chance for peace, human. We invited you here as a kindness. But your species does not deserve kindness. You are like children playing in the darkness of space. You do not belong among the stars." Dong-yuk took a deep breath. The chains on his wrists were heavy. His body was tired. But his spirit was not broken. It would never be broken. He looked at Vorn and waited. He knew his moment would come. Not today, but soon, very soon. The council chamber was filled with noise. Aliens from 100 different worlds shouted and laughed at the small group of humans standing in chains. Council leader Vorn sat on his golden throne and enjoyed every moment. This was his favorite kind of entertainment, breaking the spirits of weaker species. Dong-yuk stood still. His face showed nothing. No fear, no anger, just calm patience. This made Vorn curious. Most prisoners cried or begged by now. This old human did neither. "Tell me, old one," Vorn said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Do you have a name? Or should I just call you human?" "My name is Dong-yuk," the admiral replied. His voice was steady and clear. Admiral Dong-yuk of the Earth Defense Fleet, retired. This caused more laughter. The word fleet was funny to them. What kind of fleet could such a small planet have? "Admiral?" Vorn repeated with amusement. "You led ships? Real warships?" "I did. How many battles did you fight?" Dong-yuk thought for a moment. 47 major battles. 112 smaller engagements. The laughter stopped for a moment. Some aliens looked at each other with surprise. That was a lot of battles for one person. But Vorn waved his hand. "Lies," Vorn declared. "Humans have only been in space for 200 years. They barely know how to fly. This old fool is making up stories to seem important." The crowd agreed with their leader. They started laughing again. A tall alien with red skin stood up from his seat. He was General Kravos, the military commander of the Council forces. He had destroyed many civilizations. His name brought fear to countless worlds. "Let me see this human closer," Kravos said. He walked down to the platform and stood in front of Dong-hyuk. The general was huge, covered in muscles. His body had scars from many fights. He looked at Dong-hyuk like a hunter looks at small prey. "You say you fought battles," Kravos said. "Show me your scars." Without being asked, the guards tore open Dong-hyuk's shirt. The crowd went silent. Dong-hyuk's old body was covered with scars. Burns on his left side. Cuts across his chest. A hole near his shoulder where something had gone through. His body was a map of violence and survival. Kravos studied the scars with professional interest. He recognized some of them. "This burn," Kravos said, pointing to Dong-hyuk's side. "Plasma weapon. Close range." "You should have died." "I did not," Dong-hyuk said simply. "And this," Kravos touched the hole near his shoulder. "Railgun round. It went through you." "Yes." Kravos stepped back. His expression had changed. There was still no respect in his eyes, but there was a tiny bit of curiosity. "You are tougher than you look, old human," Kravos admitted. "But scars mean nothing. Only victory matters. And your species has never won anything important." Vorn laughed from his throne. "Excellent point, General. This old man is just a wounded animal. Earth is full of wounded animals pretending to be warriors." Vorn stood up and walked down to the platform. He moved slowly, enjoying the attention from the crowd. When he reached Dong-hyuk, he circled around him like a predator. "I have heard stories about you, Admiral," Vorn said. "Our spies told us things. They say you had a daughter, a captain in your fleet. What was her name?" Dong-hyuk's eyes flickered for just a moment. "Hannah. Her name is Hannah." "Was," Vorn corrected with a smile. "Her name was Hannah. She died, did she not?" 3 years ago. Her ship was destroyed by pirates. Pirates that we secretly funded, of course. We have been weakening your people for decades." The crowd cheered at this revelation. They loved hearing how clever their council was. Dong-hyuk felt pain in his heart. The memory of that day still hurt. He had received the news while eating breakfast. His daughter's ship had been lost. No survivors found. He had cried alone in his room for 3 days. "Does it hurt?" Vorn asked, enjoying Dong-hyuk's silence. "Does it hurt to know we killed your child?" "We killed many humans before this. Accidents, pirate attacks, mysterious disappearances. We have been hunting your people for years, and you never knew. You are proud of killing from the shadows," Dong-hyuk said quietly. "You attack when we cannot fight back. You strike when we are not looking. That is not strength. That is fear." Vorn's smile faded for a moment. Then he laughed loudly. "Fear? We fear nothing. Certainly not humans. You are nothing but animals that learn to talk. Your planet is small. Your population is tiny. Your technology is primitive. What could we possibly fear from you?" Vorn turned to face the crowd. "Look at this creature," Vorn announced. "This is the best Earth has. An old man full of scars and memories of a dead daughter. This is humanity. Weak, broken, alone. They have no allies in this galaxy. No friends. No one will come to save them when we finally decide to take their world." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jin-ho, still in chains beside Dong-hyuk, could not stay silent anymore. "You are wrong," Jin-ho shouted. "Humans are not weak. We have fought our way through everything. Wars, diseases, disasters. We always survive. We always come back stronger." A guard hit Jin-ho across the face. The young man fell to his knees, blood coming from his lip. "Silence, child," Vorn snapped. Adults are speaking. Dong-yuk helped Jinho stand up again. He looked at the young man with something like pride. Brave, Dong-yuk whispered. But save your strength. The time for words is almost over. Vorn heard this and laughed again. The time for words is almost over? What does that mean, old one? Are you going to fight us? You can barely walk. Your hands shake. You are 1 foot in the grave already. Vorn grabbed Dong-yuk's chin and forced the old man to look at him. Your species will be slaves, Vorn said coldly. Your planet will be mined until nothing is left. Your children will serve us. Your culture will be forgotten. In 1,000 years, no one will remember that humans ever existed. Dong-yuk stared back at Vorn. He did not blink. You are making a mistake, Dong-yuk said softly. What mistake? You think we are weak because we are small. You think we are helpless because we are young. You think we are defeated because you see chains on our wrists. Vorn squeezed Dong-yuk's face harder. And you have not asked the right question. What question is that? Dong-yuk smiled. It was a strange smile. The smile of a man who knew a secret. You have not asked why an old, retired admiral would volunteer for a simple diplomatic mission. You have not asked why I came here knowing you would break your promise. You have not asked why I let you capture me. For the first time, doubt crossed Vorn's eyes. You let us capture you? Of course, Dong-yuk said. This was the plan from the beginning. Vorn released Dong-yuk's face and stepped back. You are lying. You are trying to scare us with empty words. Am I? Dong-yuk looked up at the thousands of aliens watching. Then why are you afraid? The chamber went quiet. Every eye was on the old human. And for just a moment, everyone wondered if maybe they had made a terrible mistake. The council chamber was silent for 10 heartbeats. Dong-yuk stood in the center, chains on his wrists, surrounded by enemies. But he stood like a man who had already won. Council leader Vorn stared at him. The old alien was trying to understand what was happening. This was not how prisoners acted. This was not how weak creatures behaved when facing death. You are bluffing, Vorn said finally. Humans are famous for talking too much. You have nothing. You are nothing. Perhaps, Dong-yuk replied calmly. But let me tell you a story before you decide what to do with us. Vorn laughed nervously. A story? You want to tell us a story? Yes, it is a short one. I promise. The crowd murmured with confusion. Some laughed at the strange request. Others were curious. Vorn raised his hand for silence. Fine, Vorn said. Tell your story, old man. It will be your last. Dong-yuk nodded and took a deep breath. 200 years ago, humans left Earth for the first time. We were excited. We thought space was full of friends waiting to meet us. We were wrong. He paused and looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. We found a galaxy that hated us. Species that called us ugly, stupid, weak. We were attacked. We were robbed. We were enslaved on some worlds. Our colonies were destroyed. Our people were killed. Yes, Vorn interrupted with a smile. This is the history we already know. Humanity is a failure. Let me finish, Dong-yuk said. There was something in his voice now. Something hard like iron. We suffered. We lost. We cried. But we did not give up. That is not what humans do. We learned. We changed. We became something new. Something new? General Kravos asked from his seat. What did you become? Patient, Dong-yuk said. We became very, very patient. The word hung in the air. Patient. It was not a threatening word. But the way Dong-yuk said, it made several aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats. You see, Dong-yuk continued, humans learned that the galaxy was dangerous. So we stopped showing everything we had. We hid our true strength. We pretended to be weak while we built something in secret. Vorn stepped closer. Built what? A fleet. Laughter erupted across the chamber. The idea was ridiculous. Earth had a small defense force. Everyone knew that. Their ships were old and few. How could they build a secret fleet? Your spies have counted our ships, Dongyuk said over the laughter. 50 combat vessels. That is what you believe we have. That is what we wanted you to believe. Because that is all you have, Vorn said dismissively. No, Dongyuk smiled again. That strange, knowing smile. That is all we showed you. Vorn's laughter faded. Explain. For 150 years, humans have been building ships in secret, hidden in asteroid fields, hidden inside moons, hidden in the dark spaces between stars where no one looks. We used resources you thought we were trading. We used technology you thought we did not understand. Impossible, Cravo said, standing up. Our intelligence would have detected this. Your intelligence only sees what we let them see, Dongyuk replied. Every time your spies came to Earth, we showed them exactly what they expected. A weak planet with simple ships. They reported back that humans were not a threat. And you believed them. Vorn grabbed Dongyuk by the throat. You are lying. This is a trick. A desperate trick to save yourself. Dongyuk did not struggle. He just looked into Vorn's yellow eyes. You said my daughter died 3 years ago. You said you funded the pirates who destroyed her ship. Yes, Vorn hissed. I enjoyed telling you that. You were half right. You did fund the pirates. But Hannah did not die. Vorn's grip loosened in surprise. She survived, Dongyuk said. Her ship was damaged, but she escaped in a small pod. For 3 years, she has been commanding our hidden fleet, training our soldiers, preparing for this day. You are insane, Vorn whispered. Your daughter is dead. We confirmed it. You confirmed what we wanted you to confirm. Hannah is alive. And right now, as we speak, she is watching, waiting. Waiting for what? Dongyuk leaned forward despite the hand on his throat. Waiting for me to give the signal. Vorn threw Dongyuk backward. The old man fell but did not cry out. He simply got back on his feet, slowly and painfully. What signal? Vorn demanded. You have no communications. You have no weapons. You are a prisoner in chains. The signal is not a message, Dongyuk said. It is me, my body. Every human has a special marker in their blood. When I die, or when I am in danger, my marker sends a signal that travels through something your people do not understand yet, something that cannot be jammed or blocked. That is impossible. Many things seem impossible until humans do them. Vorn looked at his advisors. They shook their heads. They did not know if the old man was telling the truth or lying. There was no way to know. Even if what you say is true, Vorn said slowly. Even if you have a hidden fleet, what could you possibly do? Attack the council? You would be destroyed. Maybe, Dongyuk admitted. Maybe not. But that is not really the point. Then, what is the point? Dongyuk looked up at the thousands of aliens in the chamber. He spoke loudly so everyone could hear. You have mocked us. You have attacked us in secret. You have killed our people and laughed about it. You think we are weak because we did not fight back. He paused. We did not fight back because we were not ready. Now we are ready. Ready for what? Someone shouted from the crowd. Dongyuk turned to face Council Leader Vorn one last time. You said humans do not belong among the stars. You said you would make us slaves. You said no one would remember us. His old eyes burned with fire. You want war. We will give you war. The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. Vorn stared at Dong-yuk for a long moment. Then he started laughing. It was a loud, harsh laugh. War? You are threatening us with war? One old man in chains, threatening the entire Galactic Council? The crowd joined his laughter. They laughed and pointed at the foolish human. What could one old man do? What could a primitive species do against the greatest civilizations in the galaxy? Dong-yuk did not respond. He simply stood there, waiting. Jinho looked at his admiral with wide eyes. Sir, is it true? Is everything you said true? Dong-yuk gave a small nod. But how will they know? Jinho whispered. How will the signal reach them? Dong-yuk touched his chest, right over his heart. The signal has already been sent. It was sent the moment they put chains on me. The moment they treated us as prisoners instead of diplomats. And what happens now? The old admiral looked toward the stars beyond the chamber windows. Now we wait. But not for long. Hannah was always punctual. She gets that from her mother. Far away in the darkness between stars, something stirred. Lights that had been dark for years began to glow. Engines that had been silent began to hum. Ships that everyone thought did not exist began to move. The war was about to begin. Deep in the outer rim, far from any mapped trade route, there was an asteroid field that no one visited. It was called the Dead Zone by travelers. Ships that went there never came back. Radiation storms. Gravitational anomalies. Dangerous rocks floating in every direction. There was no reason for anyone to go there. That was exactly why humanity chose it. Inside the largest asteroid, hollowed out over 50 years of secret work, was a city. Not a small base. A city. Lights glowed in windows carved into rock. People walked through corridors built by hands that never gave up hope. And in the heart of this hidden place was a command center filled with screens and officers. Captain Hana sat in the commander's chair. She was 52 years old now, but she looked younger. Her hair was black with streaks of gray. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Eyes like her father's eyes. Status report, she ordered. A young officer named Taiwu turned from his station. All systems green, Captain. The fleet is ready. We have been ready for years. I know, Hana said softly. I know. She looked at the main screen. It showed dots of light spread across the galaxy. Each dot was a hidden base. Each base held ships. 300 bases in total. 300 secrets that humanity had kept for 150 years. The screen blinked. A red light appeared in the center. Taiwu checked his readings twice before speaking. Captain, we have a signal. Priority 1. Hannah's heart stopped for a moment. Priority 1. That was her father. That was the signal they had been waiting for. Source location? The Council home station. Ma'am, the signal shows distress. Admiral Dong-yuk has been captured. Other officers turned to look at their captain. Some had tears in their eyes. They all knew the admiral. They all loved him. He had trained many of them before he retired. Hannah stood up. Her hands were steady. Her voice was calm. Then it is time. She walked to a special console in the center of the room. There was a glass cover over a single red button. She broke the glass with her fist and did not feel the cut on her hand. All stations, this is Captain Hannah of the Human Shadow Fleet. Authorization code, sunrise after darkness. I am activating Protocol Awakening. I repeat, Protocol Awakening is now active. A voice traveled across impossible distances. Through hidden relay stations. Through communication networks that use technology the Council did not know existed. To every secret base. Every hidden ship. Every soldier who had waited their whole life for this moment. And an asteroid field near the Centauri system. Commander Minho heard the message. He was 40 years old and had never seen a real battle. He had trained in simulations. He had studied tactics. But he had always wondered if the war would ever come. Now it had. "All hands to battle stations," Minho announced. "We are waking up the fleet." Around him, 100 ships powered on. Ships that had been dark for decades. They shook off the dust and ice that covered them. Their weapons armed. Their shields activated. They were ready. The same scene happened across the galaxy. In the shadow of gas giants. Inside the ice of frozen moons. Hidden in the clouds of nebulas where sensors could not reach. Humanity had built an armada in secret, and now that armada was waking up. Back at the main base, Hana watched as reports came in. First Fleet online, Taiwu reported. 200 ships. Second Fleet online, 180 ships. Third Fleet online, 250 ships. The numbers kept growing. Hannah felt pride swelling in her chest. So many people had worked so hard for this. Engineers who died before seeing their work finished. Scientists who gave their lives to develop new weapons. Soldiers who trained in secret, never telling their families what they really did. All of them had believed that one day, humanity would need to fight. And one day, humanity would win. Total fleet count, Hana requested. Taiwu's voice shook with emotion. 8,412 combat vessels, Captain. Plus support ships, medical vessels, and transport carriers. Total operational force, 12,000 ships. 12,000. The Council thought humanity had 50. They thought humans were weak and helpless. They were about to learn the truth. Hana returned to her chair. She pressed a button to address all ships. "This is Captain Hana. For 150 years, we have hidden in the shadows. We have watched our people suffer. We have seen our colonies destroyed. We have buried our dead and said nothing. Because we were waiting, preparing, growing strong in secret." She paused to let her words sink in. "My father, Admiral Dong Yuk, is currently a prisoner of the Galactic Council. They captured him during a peaceful mission. They mocked him. They told him humanity would become slaves. They told him no one would remember us." Her voice hardened. "They were wrong. We remember everything. Every attack they made on us. Every life they took. Every insult they threw at our species. We remember it all. And today, we answer." Officers across 12,000 ships listened to their captain. Many of them cried. Some prayed. All of them felt the weight of history on their shoulders. "We do not fight for revenge," Hana continued. "We fight for survival. We fight so our children will never live in fear. We fight so no one will ever call humanity weak again. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are." She stood up again. All ships set course for the Council home station. Formation, shadow blanket. Speed, maximum. We arrive in 6 hours. The fleet began to move. Thousands of ships emerging from their hiding places like ghosts rising from graves. They moved together, coordinated by decades of practice and planning. It was the largest human fleet ever assembled. And it was heading straight for the heart of the enemy. In her command center, Hana looked at a picture on her desk. It showed her and her father on her graduation day from the academy. He was smiling, so proud of his little girl. She was smiling too, not knowing what the future would hold. "Hold on, father," she whispered. "I am coming." 6 hours. In 6 hours, everything would change. The Council would finally understand their mistake. They had poked a sleeping animal. They had bullied a species that did not forget. They had underestimated creatures who built their civilization through stubbornness and will. On 12,000 ships, human soldiers prepared for battle. They checked their weapons. They said goodbye to loved ones through recorded messages. They wrote letters that might never be read. and they waited in the council chamber. Far away, Vorn was still laughing at the old man in chains. He had no idea what was coming. No one in the galaxy did. But they would learn soon. They would all learn what happened when you pushed humanity too far. Hannah sat back in her chair and watched the stars fly past on her screen. The war had begun. There was no going back now. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. Taiwu, she called. Yes, Captain? When we arrive, I want the first broadcast to reach every planet in the galaxy. I want everyone to see what happens next. I want them to remember. Yes, Captain. It will be done. Hana nodded and closed her eyes for a moment. Remember this day, she said softly to herself. Remember the day humanity stopped hiding. 6 hours had passed. In the council chamber, Vorn had ordered a great feast to celebrate the capture of the human diplomats. Food and drink filled long tables. Music played. Aliens danced and laughed. Dongyuk and his crew remained in chains near the wall. Guards watched them with cruel smiles. Jinho sat close to his admiral, still scared, but trying to be brave. Sir, Jinho whispered, nothing has happened. Maybe the signal did not work. Dongyuk shook his head slowly. It worked. Be patient. How can you be so sure? Because I know my daughter. At that moment, an alarm began to sound. It was quiet at first. Then it grew louder and louder. The music stopped. The dancing stopped. Everyone looked around in confusion. A military officer ran into the chamber. His face was pale with fear. Council leader, he shouted. We have contacts. Many contacts. Vorn put down his drink. What kind of contacts? Ships, sir. Ships everywhere. How many ships? Is it a trade convoy? The officer's voice shook. Sir, we are counting over 12,000 warships. The chamber went completely silent. That is impossible, Vorn said. No one has that many ships. Not even the council. They are not council ships, sir. They are human ships. The markings are human. General Kravos pushed through the crowd to reach the officer. Show me, he demanded. The main screen in the chamber turned on. What it showed made everyone gasp. Space around the council station was filled with ships. Human ships. They stretched in every direction as far as sensors could see. Big ships. Small ships. Ships designed for war. Ships built to destroy. And they were all pointing their weapons at the station. No, Vorn whispered. No, this cannot be real. Humans do not have this. Dongyuk stood up slowly. His chains clinked together as he moved. I told you, the old admiral said. We were hiding our strength. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. The aliens who had been laughing at him before now looked at him with terror. A communication signal came through. The screen flickered, and a woman's face appeared. She had black hair with gray streaks. Sharp eyes. A calm expression that showed no fear. This is Captain Hana of the Human Shadow Fleet, she announced. I am speaking to the Galactic Council. Vorn stumbled forward. Your daughter? She is alive. On the screen, Hana smiled. It was the same smile her father had. The smile of someone who knew they had already won. Hello, Council Leader Vorn. I see you have met my father. Vorn could not speak. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Hana continued. For 150 years, your council has hurt humanity. You funded pirates to attack our ships. You destroyed our colonies. You kidnapped our people and sold them as slaves. You thought we were too weak to fight back. She leaned closer to the camera. You were wrong. Alarms were screaming throughout the station now. Officers ran in every direction. Military commanders shouted orders. But there was nowhere to run. The human fleet surrounded them completely. You have two choices, Hana said. First choice, release my father and his crew immediately. Sign a treaty recognizing humanity as equals in this galaxy. Pay for the damages you have caused over the last 200 years. And never attack another human again. Lorne found his voice. And the second choice? We destroy this station and everyone on it. Then we go to every world that supported the Council's crimes against humanity. And we make them pay. You would not dare, Lorne said, but his voice was weak. The galaxy would unite against you. Perhaps, Hana admitted. But how many worlds do we destroy before that happens? 10? 100? How many of your allies die before anyone stops us? She gestured to the ships behind her. We have waited a long time for this moment, Council Leader. We have trained for this. We have dreamed of this. Every human on every ship wants revenge for what you did to us. Do you really want to test how far we will go? The chamber was chaos. Aliens screamed and argued. Some demanded to fight. Others begged for surrender. Lorne stood in the middle, looking lost and afraid. Dong-hyuk walked forward. The guards were too shocked to stop him. Lorne, the old admiral said, you asked me what humans could do. Now you see. We can be patient. We can plan. We can build in secret and strike when you least expect it. He stopped in front of the council leader. You called us weak, but we survived everything the galaxy threw at us. You called us stupid, but we fooled your spies for 150 years. You called us forgettable, but after today, no one will ever forget us. Lorne's yellow eyes were wide with fear. For the first time in his 1,000-year life, he did not know what to do. What do you want? Lorne asked quietly. I already told you. Peace. Real peace. Not the fake promises you made before. We want treaties. We want protection. We want respect. And if I refuse? Dong-hyuk looked at the screen where his daughter waited. Then Hannah will do what she must, and I will not stop her. On the screen, Hannah nodded. Father, say the word, and we open fire. The chamber held its breath. Lorne looked around at his advisors, at General Kravos, at the thousands of aliens watching. He saw fear in every face. His mighty council reduced to trembling cowards by an old man and his daughter. Fine, Lorne said. The word came out like poison. We accept your terms. Release the prisoners. Prepare the treaty. Guards rushed to remove the chains from Dong-hyuk and his crew. Jinho could not believe what was happening. Just hours ago, they were going to die. Now they were free. Now they had won. Dong-hyuk rubbed his wrists where the chains had been. He looked up at the screen. Hana, it is good to see you. His daughter smiled, and for a moment, she looked like a little girl again. It is good to see you too, Father. I am sorry I took so long. You arrived exactly when you needed to. You always were punctual. Around them, the galaxy was changing. News of the human fleet spread to every world. Species that had ignored humanity now sent messages asking for friendship. Enemies became afraid. Allies appeared where there were none before. Dong-hyuk walked to a window and looked out at the fleet. His daughter's fleet. Humanity's fleet. Ships built by people who refused to give up. Ships powered by the stubbornness that made humans special. Jinho joined him at the window. Sir, what happens now? Dong-hyuk put a hand on the young man's shoulder. Now we build a new future. One where humanity does not have to hide. One where our children can walk among the stars without fear. Do you think it will last? The peace, I mean. The old admiral was quiet for a moment. I do not know. But if anyone breaks this peace, they know what will happen. They know what we are capable of. And that fear, that respect, is something we earn today. Outside the window, Hana's flagship moved closer to the station. Father and daughter would see each other soon. They had a lot to talk about. 3 years of pretending she was dead. 3 years of building an army in secret. 3 years of planning for this moment. But for now, Dong-yuk just watched and smiled. Humanity had been pushed down for 200 years. They had been mocked and attacked and killed. But they never gave up. They never stopped fighting, even when they had to fight in shadows. And now, finally, they stood in the light. The Council had wanted war. Humanity had given them something better. A warning. A promise. A demonstration of what happens when you underestimate the most stubborn species in the galaxy. Old soldiers never truly retire. They just wait for the right moment to remind everyone why they should be feared. Today was that moment, and the galaxy would never forget it.